Hey, what's up, guys? I've been hearing a lot about ivermectin, and there was a doctor who went to testify to Congress about how successful this was, and how there's ongoing studies about how successful this is at preventing somebody from contracting COVID. And one of the examples he gave was a hospital where they gave this to all of the doctors and nurses there, and not a single one of them contracted COVID the whole time. This is something that is promising, but of course, the FDA doesn't want you to use this. And they have this whole article on their website, and I want to go through it and point some things out, because the first time you read this, it's like, oh wow, that's dangerous, right? Which is the same thing they said about hydroxychloroquine, which then they retracted a little bit later, and they said, oh my god, it's not that dangerous, whatever. I just want to go through some points so you can kind of see how they write their propaganda and how they use this to shape your opinion and your belief of what you can and can't do to keep yourself safe. Um, so they start out talking about just COVID and blah, blah, blah. The FDA's job is to carefully evaluate the scientific data on a drug to be sure that it is both safe and effective. Their job is to evaluate the scientific data. Their job is not to collect the scientific data. So, what the FDA does is, a drug company that wants to, they come up with a new drug, or they have an existing drug that they want to use for a new purpose, they have to send it to the FDA. The FDA reviews the data. This company has to do all this research, and they send it to the FDA, and the FDA just evaluates the research. They don't do the research themselves. Um, there seems to be a growing interest in a drug called ivermectin to treat humans with COVID-19. Ivermectin is often used in the U.S. to treat or prevent parasites in animals. Okay, so they're telling you this is used. This is a drug for animals. This is what they're saying here. Um, the FDA has received multiple reports of patients who have required medical support and been hospitalized after self-medicating with ivermectin intended for horses. Okay, so here they're saying this is a drug that's made for animals, especially horses. Remember that for a second. Here's what you need to know about ivermectin. FDA has not approved ivermectin for use in treating or preventing COVID-19. They also have not approved any of these COVID-19 vaccines. They have given emergency use authorization, which is just that, emergency use authorization. It is not FDA approved. The FDA does not believe it is safe or effective enough to have their approval. Ivermectin tablets are approved at very specific doses for some parasitic worms, and blah, 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 lice, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the FDA has approved this for use in humans. And there's some more information on that later. But remember, this paragraph up here made it sound like, oh, it's only available for animals. There's a drug called ivermectin. We're going to introduce this drug to you. There's a growing interest in a drug called ivermectin to treat humans. Ivermectin is often used in the US to treat or prevent parasites in animals. They're trying to make you believe that this is something for animals. Now, if you remember the whole hydroxychloroquine thing, and there's probably various amounts of this that were true. There's apparently some tablet that you can use for fish tanks that has hydroxychloroquine in it. Somebody used that because, oh, it's hydroxychloroquine and my doctor won't prescribe it to me, so this is the only place I can get it, and they tried to take it and they got really sick or died from it. Again, this is not the same stuff that you get from the doctor or from the pharmacy, and the reason you can't get this at the pharmacy is because the FDA is prohibiting you from buying it. They're prohibiting doctors from prescribing it. So, taking large doses of this drug is dangerous and can cause serious harm. Really. That's the same for Tylenol. You can take large doses of Tylenol and kill yourself. You can take large doses of the COVID-19 vaccine and kill yourself. Taking large doses of any drugs, this is true for any drug. So why are they specifically telling us this here in an article that's telling us why you should not use ivermectin? If you have a prescription for ivermectin, ivermectin from an FDA-approved use, get it from a legitimate source, and take it exactly as prescribed. So here again, they're saying this is approved for use in humans. But again, up here, they said it's used for animals. Why is that so contradicting? Why don't they say up here, it's often used to treat or prevent parasites in animals and humans? Why even mention animals? Because they're trying to make you believe that this is something that's designed for animals and it's going to screw you up. Never use medications intended for animals on yourself. Ivermectin preparations for animals are very different from those approved for humans. This is true. That's fine. They can say that. That's wonderful, right? They are different. There are different mixes and everything else in there. And you don't want to take anything that's designed for an animal because of that. But that has nothing to do with whether or not you can use it as a human being. Again, down here, ivermectin tablets are approved by the FDA to treat people with intestinal, blah, 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 2 conditions with parasitic worms, and some other things. Okay, so the FDA has to approve a drug, and when they approve a drug, what they're saying is it's safe and effective, right? They're saying it's safe and effective. Now, of course, the word safe means there's absolutely no risk, and of course, when the FDA says something is safe, that's absolutely not what they mean, right? Because, of course, they're even saying right in this article, using too much of this could kill you. But they're saying right here, it's safe enough to prescribe for certain uses, just not for COVID-19. Why? Because the manufacturers are not going to spend $50 million to pay the FDA to do a study and come up with all this data and give it to the FDA and do this research. Meanwhile, independent doctors have done small enough research, but that's not enough research for the FDA, and they don't have the money to pay the FDA. So none of this is going to work. So the FDA is literally preventing us from having access to another drug that may very well be effective. We already know it's safe enough at least for FDA approval, but they don't want to let us use it. When can taking it be unsafe? Notice how they're focusing on unsafe. When can it be unsafe? Where are they focusing on how it is safe? Where are they saying it's safe only in small doses? Why are they focusing on it's unsafe in large doses? The FDA has not reviewed data to support the use of ivermectin, blah, 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 blah. So just because they haven't reviewed the data, even though some other organizations may have, and you may trust those organizations more than you trust the FDA, more than you trust the United States government, I sure do, you are not allowed to have it. You're not allowed to have it. There's a lot of misinformation around, and you may have heard that it's okay to take large doses of ivermectin. That's wrong. Yeah, that's wrong. Large doses. Nobody ever said take large doses of ivermectin. That's absolutely insane. What they're saying is simply taken in the right dosage. And this is from doctors who have written peer-reviewed articles in major magazines. There was one of them who testified to Congress. I'll put a link to that in the comments. Saying that this works. Like, people who know what they're talking about. Even the levels of ivermectin for approved uses can interact with other medications, like blood thinners, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's interesting, because blood thinners, well, the COVID vaccine is causing blood clots, so that could have some interaction with blood thinners as well, right? With any kind of blood pressure, hypertension, low blood pressure type things, right? So yes, that's normal. That's with every single drug. There is not a single drug you can go to the pharmacy and buy that does not have a whole list of side effects. So just because this has side effects, you're not allowed to use it. That this is like they're saying because this drug is the same as everything else, it's dangerous. That's what they're saying right here. Ivermectin products for animals are different from ivermectin products for people. Fine, that's great. So stop telling doctors not to prescribe it or not to allow their patients to use it, and not to even allow them to speak about any potential possible use of it because it's prohibited, because it's illegal. Allow them to get the information that's available out there Hey, if you want, approve it for emergency use. Approve the doctors to at least speak about it for emergency use, because that's the same thing you did for these vaccines.